How is everybody this morning? I was telling some of the early risers this morning, I said, had I been able to forecast the future, I would have called and told everybody that if you had any question about your salvation, had you been with me at Cherry Lake yesterday, you'd have made your mind up. It's so hot the gnats wouldn't even out. So, trying to lighten the crowd here a little bit this morning. Huh? All right, I found this and this quote, and I think I've heard one quite similar to this, and I think it was from Terry actually, because I found it afterwards. But anyhow, the quote says, a coin has value. If it's lost, it still has value. But if it's lost, it can't be used. So I thought that was fitting. Kind of on the same line, I guess. If a tree falls in the woods and ain't nobody around to hear it, does it make a noise? Type of thing. But I really like the point that made. Yeah, you know, our souls have value regardless of where we stand. It still has value. But if it's lost, and anyhow, I thought that was fitting. And it's my class, so I can do that. So, no. All right, we're on chapter 24, and we got to get through today. Again, I've told y'all Terry fired me, so he made me promise. Chapter 24, this is the third chapter in a row where the Israel was assembled in part or whole. And in this chapter, Joshua reviews Israel's history, stress the continued blessings of God. Joshua emphasized God's love for Israel, his mighty acts on behalf of Israel, and he did so by recalling only certain parts of Israel's history. We see about Abraham's call. It reflects on Israel's deliverance from Egypt and the wandering in the wilderness. And throughout the not just this chapter, but the entire verse, or not this chapter, but the entire book of Joshua, it's very obvious at the things and the extent that the Lord went to deliver Israel, or deliver their victories when they were facing their enemies and so forth. The things he did provided for them while they were out wandering. So I don't know, and what a wonderful lesson for us today that is. You know, if we stop and think about it. Now I will submit to you that in Joshua, to me, that was a lot more obvious. All right? They were completely and totally dependent upon the Lord for everything. Everything. All right? The food they put in the pie hole every day. All right? Completely dependent. Yes, we're completely dependent if we're looking at things in the light that we should be looking at them through today. All right? But They heathens out here that got a job and can go to the grocery store and buy them something to eat. All right? Here, that is completely different. My point I'm trying to make is looking at it in that light, how could anybody not be convinced? How could you not be convinced of what was happening and how you were being provided for? You know, I've said that I think that it would be a lot easier maybe to have that faith and have that belief had we lived in times such as these, when there were miracles being performed. And I submit to you that that manna that was provided each and every day, is that not a miracle in itself? Sure it is. All right? How could you live in those times and not realize those things? I just think for me, of course now I'm a pretty simple person. I just think for me that would have been much, much, much easier for me to, I mean, just the you know, watching some of these happen is just the effect. You know, I can picture that. But today we have what? Today we have the Word, do we not? And the thing that saves us today is what? What saves us today? What guarantees us a place in heaven? I'm sorry? Faith. Faith. Okay? Faith. And I submit to you that is more difficult than sitting there watching those things happen. Of course, yeah, same outcome. Those people sat there and watched that and still, you know, still didn't believe. So, yeah, we have those same opportunities today, but today faith is what guarantees us that. Not our works, okay? Not our works. Then people say, well, you know, you got to have works too. Well, yeah, that's part of the faith. All right? That's part of the faith. Because part of the faith tells us to what? We got to have those good works, okay? We got to spread the gospel. Verse 1, Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel. He also summoned the elders of Israel as well as their heads and their judges and their officers. This group of people presented themselves before God. God said to the Israelites from ancient times, your fathers lived beyond the river and they served other gods. Israel's forefathers, father of Abraham and the father of Nahor, had lived in Ur of the Chaldees and had worshiped idols. This reflects God's mercy that he had taken Abraham from the land of idolatry and eventually removed him from the influence of his father's house. Verse number 6, God, through Joshua, emphasized Abraham's offspring, Isaac and Jacob. He told the Israelites to Isaac and Jacob and Esau, and to Esau I have given Mount Seir to possess it. But Jacob and his sons went down to Egypt. God closely guarded every move that his people made because he was and is a covenant keeper. Have you ever want you to look back and think of a person that you have dealt with and dealt with, dealt with, and dealt with, and dealt with, and things just seem to never change. And at some point, the human side of us goes, what? I'm through with that. All right? I had somebody tell me that, and they said, well, the Bible says 70 times 7. I said, you used them up a long time ago. All right? Now, that's not the attitude we should have, but as humans, do we get to that point? Yeah, we sure do. We sure do. And for some of us, it doesn't take as long as it does for others. All right? But you know, I'm a firm believer that, excuse me, some of those things just come with birthdays. They just come with birthdays for the vast majority of people. Okay? When my son first went to service in the Marine Corps. Yes. Go ahead. No. Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh-huh. Right. Mm-hmm. You're, and you are spot on. That is absolutely correct. Excuse me. I will submit to you, however, though, most people associate those two things as being one. Okay? And we have to be conscious of that in dealing with people. They associate the two as being one thing. But you're right, it is not. Okay? Now, yeah, you can forget, you don't have to deal with them anymore. All right? You know, they can probably, you go, look, we're past that. Okay? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Right. Mhm. Sure. Yeah. And you know, I think a lot of times that forgiveness is not for them necessarily. It's for us, so that we can accept what's happened and move forward from there. What they say, it's like riding a bicycle, right? To keep your balance, you gotta keep moving forward. If you stop pedaling, what's gonna happen? You're gonna lose your balance. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. And you know, you know, there are a lot of great, and I mean that sincerely, there is a lot of great information in dealing with things, none more so than the Bible. But you know, I'm just going to tell you, sometimes, you know, I got 3 or 4 books out on my desk. Okay, well, yeah, I read. What does that mean? You know, and you go here and it refers you to here, and get another book. You go to there. The Bible can be difficult to understand. For me, there again, I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. I've admitted that. However, there are some other books that I've read that referred very, very, very frequently to lessons in the Bible, sometimes breaks that down further. And just like within the Bible, the things that we're told to do, if we could do those things, you know, it would just be a cakewalk. But as a human, we have difficulty with those things. All right? You know, and it's a fact that, you know, when we have something happen that bothers us, it could be, you know, something tragic, whatever the case may be. There again, keep in mind what I said. If we could do that, you know, we wouldn't have any problems. But the things that happen and occur to us only affect us as to the value that we put on that. Things only affect us to the extent of the value that we place on that event. And some people's place are different than other people's places. Okay? Some people's, the things that happen differ from the way they look at things opposed to somebody else. We could be looking at the same 2 things, have the same 2 things happen to each of us, and view it completely different. Okay? And what does that say? It says that we place a different value on something other than the other person. So you can't say that things don't affect us because of the value that we place on it individually. It does. You see it every day. You see it every day if you stop and look. Okay? So our challenge is, as always, is to put ourselves in that best possible position. And the Bible tells us how to position ourselves. But we've got to accept it. We have to read it. We have to read it with an open mind. And we have to apply those principles in order for things to have the effects on us, in order for it to give us the stability that we need, the foresight that we need, the patience that we need. You can just fill in the blank. Okay? It tells us everything that we've got. You've heard it all your life. Everything you need to know is right there. How to deal with certain situations, it's all right there. But it's the value that we place on it, okay? We have to, and that's difficult. That's difficult. That is very, very difficult. Again, back to what I said, it's if we could control that stuff, you know, we wouldn't have any problems. But that's not the case. God continued addressing the Israelites through Joshua to remind them that all he had done for them. And we talked about some of those things. Joshua recounted Israel's victories after they crossed to the west side of the Jordan. 7 nations were subdued. Could any of those things have happened without the Lord? No. No. You remember back in Joshua when they were defeated? And why were they defeated? FBI would call that a clue. All right? That's what they'd call that. But guess what? Some of them old hard heads, and I can place myself in that category, or my wife does anyhow. Perspective, remember we were just talking about that? It only has a value that I put on it, so I try not to put much value on it, but anyhow, it's true. Not as bad as I used to be. And you know, just a personal observation with with me and places that you are and moving on from that place to someplace else. I think everybody knows that I worked for the sheriff's office for a little over 42 years. And I, in my, okay, I was waiting for the shock. And in my profession, there was no compromise. Okay? There was no compromise. No, it's my way. Okay? In dealing with people. And it had to be that way. Okay? Now, let me tell you something else. That's not a good way to be when you park your patrol car and walk in the house. Yeah, it's difficult to leave it out there in that parked patrol car sometimes. All right? Because that's what I did every day, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day for 42 plus years. There's not a compromise. It wasn't a multiple choice. All right? Here's what you're going to do. That's difficult to get away from. It's very difficult to get away from. And I had to learn that. Well, I didn't learn it soon enough. But anyhow, that's very difficult to get away from. I had to be in a position where I was in control. That was just the nature of the job. I can remember in some of the, I taught at the college over in Madison and Lake City for a number of years. And anyhow, I was demonstrating I'd pick one guy out and I sent him outside and I explained to the rest of the students what I was fixing to do to him. Okay? And it was going to work because he was going to have no idea what I was doing to him. And about, there again, control. No, there ain't a multiple choice. I said this or that. So, sent him outside, told him what I was going to do. He come back in. And we were simulating I don't remember, could have been a traffic stop or something. Anyhow, it required me asking for his identification, which he provided, but he was, his role that he was given by one of the other instructors was to be, confrontational, mouthy, blah, 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 like that. I said, now, here's what I'm going to do to him. He's going to get mouthy. He's going to become non-compliant. And when he does, there's going to be a point where I take his driver's license and drop him on the floor. I said, immediately after I drop him onto him, pick that up, every time they bend over and pick it up, hand it back to you. What have I just done? We call it the OODA loop. Okay, I OODA looped him. All right? Every time. I took control back from him, trying to be mouthy and trying to push his agenda just by simply dropping those lights to pick it up. Bend down and pick it up. I ain't never had it not work. Works every time. Don't try that with your spouses. Some of these things are workplace things. All right, verse 13, the focus shifts to emphasize the blessings that Israel enjoyed solely because of God. Verse 14, fear. Here the words reflect the concepts of awe and reverence, and includes the idea of trust, love, and worship. It is used 7 times in Joshua. Joshua instructed the Israelites, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth. Joshua made an impassionate plea for Israel to put away their gods. Joshua called for Israel to make the decision and, in his typical fashion, took the lead and swore allegiance to God on behalf of his entire household. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Do we have to have a strong leader? Do most people depend on that, do you think? Strong leadership? Sure they do. All right? They want not somebody necessarily telling them what to do, but that will get their hands dirty, so to speak, and do that with them. Now, if a leader does that with them, with their employees or subordinates, however you want to refer to it, do you think that gives those people a different outlook about that leader? Well, sure it does. Sure it does. I also ran our tactical unit, and so when we get ready to do a search warrant, we usually meet about 4 o'clock in the morning. We brief, everybody get geared up, have comms check, and make our assignments, okay? And of course, nobody ever wants to be the number one guy, right? Yeah. So I always took a hat. Everybody put their name in the hat, all right? Shake them up. I always drew the names, okay? And let's face it, even in that atmosphere with those kind of individuals are high speed, okay? They're all like double alpha males, okay? Which is what you've got to have in that environment. But you still have some that are stronger in some aspects than others are. Or I'd walk around before we had comms check, I'd talk to everybody. Everybody. How you doing? How's the family? How's the baby? Baby doing good? What grade is she in? All right. And I did that to make a judgment as to, all right, where are they at this morning? Them and their wife have a spat last night. You know, somebody sick, the baby ill, because what do you think is going to occupy their thoughts? That. Yeah. They'll get themselves hurt and they'll get somebody else behind them hurt. So if I had that individual and inevitably somebody's got something going on somewhere, okay, such is life. And inevitably, I'd reach in there, I'd grab a name out, I'd pull it out, and it'd be that individual. All right? So, what I always did, if that were the case, all right, and they never knew who I drew, all right? If that was the case, though, and I'd talk to that individual, I go, he don't need to be there, all right? I'd reach in, I'd grab that name, open up, it's his, and I was, golly, what is it, Captain? I said, well, I drew my own self again. Nobody ever knew. I'd wad it back up, throw it back in the hat, you know, along with the rest of the names. But what do you think that showed those guys? And if they stopped and thought about it, it didn't matter what I drew. I could have told them anything, you know, or picked anybody. I didn't do that except for the conditions that I just explained to you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not asking you to, and you've heard it all your life, you know, I'm not asking you to do anything that I wouldn't do. Okay? And that, I mean, they ain't got to like me. Okay? I had a bunch that didn't like me. All right? You know, I didn't hire them. I didn't fire them. Had one tell me one day, said, I couldn't work for you. I said, you got that right, and don't forget it. Do not forget that. But regardless of what they thought about me, it didn't matter. It didn't matter because I put myself in the same position I put each and every one of those individuals in. Okay? That demands a level of respect. It demands it. Okay? You can say what you want. Yeah, he's a sorry something. Yeah, but he'll go first. All right? It demands certain things. And what is our Lord doing here? Do you think his actions and the things he provided and the way he took care of them demanded a certain level of obedience? Sure it did. Did everybody do it? You've always got that one. You've always got that problem child. Okay? And we're always going to have them. Okay? We're always going to have them. But like I say, I think that would have been such a easier time as far as belief. And, you know, we don't need that now because we have the written word. Let's see, verses 16 through 18, record the conversation between Joseph and Israel. Israel replied to Joshua's charge to loyalty and service to the Almighty God by saying, far be it from us. Okay, that's twice. Third time will be the charm. He delivered them out of the land of Egypt. He did great signs for them. He preserved them through the years, and he drove out the nations of Canaan for them. They could have not helped but see the things that were provided to them. Verse 19, Joshua responded, you will not be able to serve the Lord, for he is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions of your sins. His reply is bewildering. Why would Joshua say such a thing to a people who had just vowed their allegiance to God? Why would he say that? Was he meaning that literally? Well, he kind of was, but why do you think he said that? Absolutely. He's not saying that they will not be forgiven. What he's saying is if you get off track, you won't be. Okay? Yes. Yes. Yeah. And we can do that right now. Yep. Exactly. So it wasn't. I don't know how to say that, but yes, he wasn't saying at that point that it was he's not going to forgive you. He was saying if you did not, that he was not going to forgive you. They had to continue to choose to follow him. Joshua was testing the Israelites' sincerity. He would also have been questioning their truthfulness. He wanted the people to consider the cost of the commitment they claimed to be making. Joshua was attempting to shatter all the ideas that Israel could remain loyal through their own power. We see that throughout. Why at this stage do you think they still needed to be reminded? Yeah, they were hard-headed. I can understand that, but that was the purpose. Joshua stressed the consequences of the nation of Israel if the people chose to forsake the God, chose to forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods. People's second response to Joshua's charge was, no, but we will serve the Lord. The people's adamant stance was likely sincere. All right? Do we say and do things and are sincere about them? I should hope so. Does that waver and change sometimes? You shake your head like this. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Most certainly it does. And that's the point that Joshua was trying to get across. Joshua replied to the people's affirmation. They confirmed their decision to follow the Lord by saying, we are witnesses. They would be held accountable for these words. For the third time in this chapter, Joshua referenced their idol worship. Put away the foreign gods which is in your midst. Incline your hearts to the Lord God of Israel. The people of Israel were to turn their affection wholly towards the Lord, yielding to his will. For the fourth time in this section, the people conversed with Joshua. For the second time in two verses, 21 and 24, they affirmed their faithfulness to Yahweh and their willingness to follow him. On that day, Joshua made a covenant with the people and made them a statute and an ordinance in Shechem. For the first, he recorded this conversation in the book of the law of God. Second, he took a large stone and set it up there under the oak that was by the sanctuary of the Lord. He appointed the stone as a witness against the people, since the stone represented those who had heard all the words of the Lord. Joshua hoped that the presence of such a witness would encourage the Israelites not to deny their God. After the agreement was formally formalized, Joshua dismissed the people, each to his own inheritance. Now, do you think that, about that reminder? What about that reminder? You think that works? That stone was put there for a reason. Why? So when they saw that, where did they go? It did work for a while. You're right. Yes. Yeah. As often they do. As often they do. We forget, and we get two or three people or generations removed from things, and those things fade out, unfortunately. But the stone was there for that purpose. Oh, see that stone, they knew what it meant. Okay, if that wasn't passed forward, like you say, through these generations and times, people dying off, then those things are forgotten. Does that apply to us today? It does. Whatever book I'm studying, book of Joshua, whatever it may be, it's on the table beside my bed. So every morning when I wake up, what's the first thing I see? The Bible or one of the different books on the different books of the Bible, sitting right there by my bedside. First thing I see every morning, okay? First thing I see. And that serves as a reminder to me. Okay? And for me, I got to do that right then. I do it before I ever get up. All right? Because inevitably something's going to happen during the day. Something's going to tear up, or I get sidelined, or whatever the case may be, and then you don't get it done. You don't get your studying done. You don't get your reading done. So for me, that's the time I dedicate before my day ever gets started. Then I know I've got it in. Some people read at night. I read at night some, but something happens. You had a bad day, all right? Cows broke out, got some wire down, all right? Had to go repair the fence, put up new stakes, stretch more barbed wire. Anybody ever had that? I remember the old rope pullers to stretch barbed wire. Yeah, let that strand break. That stuff will wrap around you like a cat. Not fun. But things happen. So you've got to, you know what? It's like anything else. It's like your contribution. It's like paying your bills. You've got time scheduled to do those things. All right? Everything in your life is scheduled. What more important than scheduling and setting aside the time for your study? I submit to you that there's not a more important time. All right, the end of the chapter, we see what happens to Joshua. Joshua passes on. And as that happens, then the responsibility of these other peoples, the heads of the different tribes, were they responsible for carrying these things on? Not letting those things die out? Yeah, that was their responsibility. But what happens over time? And I've mentioned it before, it's like denominationalism, okay? Well, we're okay. Here we are. Here's a book, here's a word, here's the church. Somebody don't like that. They like hearing tambourines. All right, so we take a step over here. Hey, we're okay. I can still even reach over and touch it. All right? Then we add something else. We take another step. Well, I can't touch it, but I can still see it. One hop. Okay? And gradually, we move a step further away. All right, we are out of time. I did have some further comments, application-wise. Fear God, respect Him, respect His Word, follow His Word, choose for yourself, okay? Choose for yourself. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And that wasn't one of these paved superhighways either that they were traveling. All right. And you know what? It's not today. It's not today for us. You know, those challenges, pop up with us today. And something that may challenge you may not challenge the person sitting next beside you. Something you struggle with, the other person, it doesn't bother me. I don't struggle with that. All right? But we're not talking about you. We're talking about somebody else. And you know what? That's important. And it should be as important to us when someone comes to us with that as the things that you struggle with are as important to you. That's our responsibility. Okay? I didn't say you had to accept it, but it's still yours, regardless. I appreciate your time. I have enjoyed our class. I do get long-winded, but that's just it. That's just how it goes sometimes. You can do what you want when you teach your class. I thank everybody. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.